Problem number 1 asks us to write a system of linear inequalities that represents each problem situation. And we need to remember to define our variables. So the very first thing we do is we read the problem and we annotate. So I'm going to use a highlighter. Company is printing flyers and brochures. And it takes 2 minutes to print a flyer, 4 minutes to print a brochure. Flyers use 12 ounces, brochures use 9 ounces of ink. Company has 2 hours available, 360 ounces of ink, and they make a profit of $1 on each flyer and $2 on each brochure. So the next thing we need to do is define our variables. Flyers came first, so I'm going to make that X and brochures Y. So X is going to represent the number of flyers, and brochures is going to be Y, number of brochures. Now, when we're trying to figure out which inequalities we need to think about the limitations of the system. So there's a couple important pieces of information. This very last sentence, we cannot print a negative number of flyers. So that means if there's negative numbers, there's 0, and there's positive numbers, we cannot have negative numbers, which means the number of flyers that I create, or X, has to be greater than or equal to 0. So that's 1. And the number of brochures that I make also has to be greater than or equal to 0. That's 2. Now I'm looking at the next, and it says it takes 2 minutes to print a flyer and 4 minutes to print a brochure, and I have a total of 2 hours available. So 2 minutes times the number of flyers that I make plus 4 minutes times the number of brochures that I make has to be less than or equal to, now these 2 and 4 are measured in minutes, but this other 2 is measured in hours. So I need to do 2 hours is equal to 120 minutes. Okay. So that has to be less than or equal to 120 minutes. Then the last one is the amount of ink available. The flyer uses 12 ounces of ink, so 12 times the number of flyers that I make plus 9 times the number of brochures that I make has to be less than or equal to the total ounces of ink, which is 360. You may be asking, how come we don't have a linear inequality for the profit? Well, it's because there isn't really a limitation on how much profit we can make, so we don't write the inequality for that.